guys feel about Dez holding out? I mean, about the Cowboys holding out on Dez. If they were just going to increase it by about $2 million.
Low blow by Hurts. Hagler's still looking for the body. A right by Hagler. Good right got in. He had Hurts where he loved to keep him on the ropes. Now he comes off easily. Another good right by Hurts. Hagler's now taking those right hands off, though. He was stung a little early. He's normally a slow starter. He's also bleeding. Hagler is...
Hello guys, welcome to STI 740 Sports Entertainment Talk with Isaac and Crew. And today we have here Isaac and Jabari, and they're going to be talking about sports. Of course. And remember, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Isaac Cherry with Sports Talk and Entertainment with Isaac and Crew.
And I'm Jabari Garrett, the co-host of STI 740 Sports Talk and Entertainment with Isaac and Crew.
So, let's go and dive into it. The NFL draft was last week.
True.
What do you think about it?
It surprised me, especially the Bears pick, because I didn't expect them to go with a quarterback, but they did. But I already knew that Myles Garrett would go number one because he was the clear-cut best player in the draft. I mean, he's very aggressive, very powerful. He's a freak athlete, so I'm not surprised with that pick.
What do you think about the Bears trading up to get Mitchell Trubisky?
Like I said, it surprised me, but basically, I think the Bears realized that they need a quarterback, a new start. So I feel like that would be somewhere they can start with. About Mitchell Trubisky, though, he's not really the type of player that I would want the Bears to have. And I'm saying that because when he played in college, 98% of his snaps were in shotgun. So he doesn't know how to be under the center as well. Also, he's very inconsistent. Throwing the ball deep, inconsistent. His awareness, inconsistent. He had many touchdown opportunities in college where he just missed the receiver downfield. So he is inconsistent, but then again, he has times where he's doing great on the field.
But he also had over 4,500 passing yards, over 40 touchdowns, and only 10 interceptions.
Yeah.
So how can he be inconsistent and he has those numbers?
No. Well, you're right. With the numbers that he had, like I said, he had some times where he's great. He looked like Carson Wentz, Carson Wentz did in college. So, like I said, I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised because the inconsistency there. He was inconsistent, like I said, because he could have had more touchdowns. There was clear times that he missed receivers downfield, and his deep ball was very inaccurate sometimes. Sometimes when he's under pressure, he would just throw it up, he would lob it, and that would cause some interceptions. But he doesn't do that a lot, but that's some weaknesses that he do have.
So, looking at that division, who would you rather have them take?
The Bears, it probably, I wouldn't know because the Bears do need a quarterback.
But they also need defensive backs.
Yeah.
They need anyone besides a running back.
But the quarterback position, they've been holding on to their quarterback for some time. So then again, like I said, it surprised a lot of people. But then again, you have to look at that they probably need a new fresh start. So a quarterback wouldn't be a bad option.
But they just signed Mike Glennon to a multi-million-dollar deal for 4 years.
And Cowboys did the same years back when they signed different quarterbacks at the same time. So it's just to find out if one quarterback is going to shine, if another quarterback is going to shine, or he'll be a great backup quarterback. And like I said, he's inconsistent, so it's good to have somebody else there just in case he's not doing well.
So, last week you said Jabril Peppers, top 3 player, right? He wasn't even in top 10, top 20. He was one of the last picks in the first round. And the player he was replaced with was Solomon Thomas. So how do you feel?
I'm not surprised, actually, because I did say that last week, but then again...
You're not surprised?
No.
But you had Julius...
Because you were right when you said it last week. You said his inconsistency, so I'm not surprised because you're right about that.
But he's an athlete. You're an athlete. You can do anything.
Is he not an athlete?
Yeah, everybody's an athlete.
When I say he's an athlete, when I say you're an athlete, when we're talking about a lot of top picks in the NFL, I'm saying that you're overshining your opponents. Like Myles Garrett, when I say he's an athlete, of course there's many athletes in the draft, but Myles Garrett running a 4.64, a DN running a 4.64, this dude is a very fast. So when I say an athlete, I'm saying that you're overshining your opponents on the athletic side. So, and then he could play 2 positions, safety and linebacker. So that's the strength that I brought out about him.
But that wasn't enough of a strength for him to go number 3.
Obviously.
He had 11 pass defended. He's in between positions, like I told you, which is why he got picked so low. Now he's a blank canvas. The coach for the Browns said he's going to try him out on offense and defense in the same game. So, I mean, Jabril Peppers, he's a great athlete, but he doesn't have enough skill to be taken number 3, which is why he wasn't.
Okay, then.
If it's obvious, then why would you say he was going number 3?
Actually, you know that now. So you're talking after the draft happened. You didn't say this last week.
Yes,
so, I mean, before the draft happened and after the draft happened are 2 different things.
Okay, now, Solomon Thomas, a player out of Coppell, Texas. 101 tackles and 11 and a half sacks. Number 3, 49ers. In a division with the Rams, Seahawks, who both have poor offensive lines, he should shine.
I think he will. He has great pursuit. He has great footwork on the line. And actually, he was the second DN to go in the draft. Of course, Myles Garrett being number 1. They're the complete opposite to me. Myles Garrett being explosive, fast, strong. And then Solomon Thomas being like agile. He has quick moves. He can do it all when it comes to getting by a defender. Myles Garrett uses his strength. He uses his agility. He uses his moves, swim moves. So actually, I look forward to seeing him play because he's a great player. He did great in college. So I'm looking forward to it.
Now let's talk about who the Dallas Cowboys picked. Taco Charlton. 6'6", 277 pounds. Reminds me of another defensive lineman they already have who showed out and was Defensive Player of the Week in only 19 snaps.
So
who that sound like?
Wait, am I hearing that you like him?
Yeah.
You like the Cowboys drafting him?
Yeah.
I totally disagree.
Why is that?
Because, like I said, other DNs...
No, hold on.
No, I'm about to tell you. You asked. Other DNs went in the draft. Am I correct? Mm-hmm. And of all the DNs that went in the first round, I mean, him running a 4.92, that's kind of slow. Him bench pressing 25 reps, that's kind of weak compared to, Solomon Thomas, who also went in the first round, bench pressing 30 reps. Myles Garrett, bench pressing 33 reps. Derek Barnett, bench pressing 32 reps. So, I mean, to go with that, I mean, he's not that good compared to other DNs who went in the first round. And then when I say he run a 4.92, Myles Garrett, 4.64. Solomon Thomas, 4.69. He's not compared to other DNs in the first round. So I'm saying the Cowboys did need a DN, but he's not that type of player like other DNs who went in the first round.
Okay. So who would you rather have them gone?
Probably I would have picked another cornerback to go first, and I think he would have still been on the board. So I feel like they do need a DN. They could have got him later, I feel, because, like I said, he's not a great athlete and great skill wise.
He plays faster than his 40.
And think about this. He's a senior. So of all the other players coming into it, he didn't start till his senior year.
A senior with 10 sacks.
He didn't. Wait. Like I said, he didn't start till his senior year. Okay. Starting to your senior year, you did not have a lot of experience in college. You started 3 times your junior year. No, he played 3 times, got in the game 3 times his junior year. So what I'm saying is, he's a great player. He showed out his senior year, but you haven't seen it throughout college. So the transition into the NFL is a big different story. And for you to only do something your senior year compared to other players doing things their freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, he don't have the experience. And plus, he's older than the rest. So I look forward to what he'll do for the Cowboys, but he isn't that type of player like other players in the draft.
Okay, now listen.
Do you agree?
No. Now I'm about to tell you why.
Tell me why.
Listen. Taco Charlton. This year he had more sacks than Myles Garrett. Okay. This is a dude, 6'7", 6'6", 277. Reminds me of another player they already have on the team, David Irvin. This is a dude, David Irvin's a dude who won Defensive Player of the Year against the Green Bay Packers, in which he forced multiple forced fumbles, sacks, and only 19 snaps. So look, having them two dudes who are big and then coming off that defensive line, It's gonna make way for other defensive linemen, which is why I think Taco Charlton is gonna be a great pick.
Okay, you talked about him getting to the quarterback. That's what he was good at. But when we talk about
That's the main point of a
no,
defensive
listen. Let me tell you, because if he's playing defensive end and running backs are running to the outside, he did not do good at stopping running backs. He didn't do good at that.
38 tackles.
38 tackles.
How many did Miles Garrett have?
I'm not sure.
Okay, then you can't talk.
No, I can't talk about Are we talking about Miles Garrett? Or no, you're skipping the subject. Are we talking about Miles Garrett though? Are we talking about Miles Garrett?
But when you
didn't answer the question. Are we talking about Miles
in a
Garrett?
sense, yes. And I'm gonna tell you how.
Taco
Listen,
Charlton, Miles Garrett.
You can't compare defensive end and say one defensive end is a bad pick, and you're not even comparing another.
No, I'm comparing his.
Who you comparing him to?
I'm comparing him to other DNs at the combine.
And Miles Garrett was at the combine.
Okay.
So we talking about Miles Garrett.
That was.
Thank you.
Well, what I'm saying is that he was not good at getting around stopping defenders. But anyway, that was a good segment. Okay, I like that. But we have to we're gonna take a commercial break, and after we come back, we're gonna introduce Mr. Craig Zurek. He is the director of the media development and sales with the Dallas Cowboys. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Thank you.
When you support virtual advertising media, you are support
the only youth
media
team that
hosts,
produce,
direct,
and build their own production.
control the media, control the market.
Still, y'all know I support y'all always.
Youth voice, K3.
Hello, I'm Shedrick Boyd, and I have a daughter that's in STI 740.
What's up, boy? This is
Hi, I'm a parent of my child that attends the STI 740.
To be your own boss and be an entrepreneur like us.
Male mentoring camp for young men.
Male Mentor Camp for Young Men. And that is...
Hi, my name is Ron Kurd, and I'm here to talk about STI 740.
Hi, my name is Candace Renee. STI 740 is a platform that I only dreamt about as a child. And then you have your child running around. Oh. Hi, my name is Aaliyah Muhammad. What I like about STI 740 is it's a really open place where you can be yourself. It teaches you a lot of things. It teaches you confidence.
My name is Brother Savion Kurd, and one thing that I love about STI 740 is that it opens your mind to all the brilliant opportunities that there is in your community. You know, a lot of times people are just blind to it. They don't know how to focus on their craft. They don't know what venues and what avenues to broadcast their talent. And that's what we focus on at STI 740.
Hello, my name is Isaac Cherry, and one of the things that I like about STI 740 is how it allows the youth to do various things that they wouldn't be able to do, and it keeps them doing positive things instead of negative things. It allows them to control the media that controls people's minds.
Hello guys, welcome back to STI 740 Sports Entertainment Talk with Isaac and Crew. Remember, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thank you.
All right, y'all. Hey, look, when I say go, y'all say Cowboys, right? Go. Cowboys! Go. Cowboys! My name is Brother Savion Curd, and I'm the co-host for STI 740 today.
I'm Langston Gardner, and I'm a co-host for STI 740. And today we are here with the Director of Media Development and Sales with America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, Mr. Craig Zurek. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, pretty old. Pretty happy. I've been married for 35 years to the same lovely woman. I've got 3 grown children. They all graduated from the University of Texas, and the good news is they all went out and got jobs, so I don't have to pay for them anymore. I work for the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm in one of what I would call probably the 5th lifestyle change or career change that I've made in my whole career. And that's an important thing for y'all to remember. Whatever you start out doing doesn't mean that that's what you have to do for the rest of your life. So right now I'm Director of Media Brand and Development for the Dallas Cowboys. And what that means, and sales, and what that means to me is that I have to create new marketing and media platforms for the Dallas Cowboys that they can use to drive brand awareness, fan engagement, and revenue. Because Mr. Jones likes to get checks, much more than he likes writing them. Okay, and I will also say about the Dallas Cowboys, they're the best organization I've ever worked for, by far. They're as good off the field as they are on the field. My background was, I grew up in the south side of Chicago in a blue-collar neighborhood. Thought I would be driving a truck or working in a trucking company. I went in the United States Coast Guard. Spent 4 years in the Coast Guard, including 10 months in Vietnam. I came back from that and realized that there was a lot more to do in the world. So I went to college, graduated from Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, Illinois, with a degree in broadcasting, and went on into radio. Lived in Reno, Nevada, San Antonio, Texas, Chicago, Illinois, and of course, Dallas, Texas. And along the way, I changed what I did a few times, and came to the Dallas Cowboys specifically to bring the Dallas Cowboys radio network in-house. It used to be with CBS, and I was working there at the time, and Mr. Jerry Jones Jr. called me up and said, we're bringing it in-house, we'd like you to come along. I thought it was a good idea to have a job. Seeing as how the Zurek Family Food Fund depended upon my bringing home enough money to buy food every week. So I went there, and a little while later, I took care of the monetization of the television for the Dallas Cowboys, the internet for the Dallas Cowboys, and grew from there. And in 2008, when the Dallas Cowboys were building, at the time, Cowboy Stadium, today AT&T Stadium, I was put in charge of the digital signage project. And that meant that I had to learn a lot of technology. And so I did. I learned the technology, and I learned that people in technology, a couple of things I will tell you. Number one is people in it are pretty smart. Number two, there's not enough women in it, and that's not because they're not smart enough, it's because they get told not to. When they're in about 7th or 8th grade, they say, no, you should be going in a different direction. I say that to all the young ladies here, that if you're good in math, if you're good in science, there's a whole world out there for you. So that's me in a nutshell, and I love your show. I would say that I think the Chicago Bears gave up way too much for Trubisky, by the way, going back to what you guys were talking about, and I think Taco's going to be a great player.
Zurek, listen to you speak, it seems like you've been with the Cowboys for quite a while now. So how long have you been with the Cowboys, and what is it about the organization that made you stick around so long?
Okay, I've been with the Cowboys for 11 years, and I ran the Cowboys radio network for CBS and Infinity Radio for 12 years before that. So I've been around the organization for about 23 years. And the reason I stay is, A, it's fun. It's very enjoyable, it's exciting. Working at a radio station or working at a team, there's always excitement, there's always energy, there's always something fun going on. They are, as I said, a great organization to work for. You will find with the Dallas Cowboys that in a world where people don't stay a long time in jobs today, nobody leaves there. We've got less turnover than any company I know of. People just never leave. They get into a job, they grow in the job, they're given the opportunity. I've given the opportunity to grow in what I do. If I need to go to a seminar to learn something more, they let me do it. If I have to go talk to somebody about an important part of my job and learn more about it, I'm able to do that. So through all of my life, I've been able to grow, continue to grow every single day.
So I know you've had a lot of them, but if you could narrow it down, can you tell us what your greatest achievement was?
My greatest achievement, of course, was having 3 kids. But in work, from a work perspective, I look at the digital signage project at the stadium as an excellent achievement, simply because I went into it really not knowing exactly what it was all about. I remember walking into a meeting after Mr. Jerry Jones Jr. appointed me to run the project. I walked into a meeting and there were engineers and there were architects and there were construction people and all of these people who'd been meeting for a while, and they all spoke about all of the equipment they use, and they spoke in acronyms. So instead of saying words, they would use, instead of saying digital media players, for example, they'd say DMP. And I'd sit at the table and listen to them talk, and I would write down all of these acronyms, and I would go to Wikipedia and look them up and come back. And after a few months, once I found out what they were, I'd read all about them, learn what the technology was about. And one of them, I'll tell you a funny story. So one of them was the GSIS. That is the server that the NFL uses to deliver statistics to all of the teams around the league. And the server is called the GSIS, and so it was nicknamed the Jesus. And when our broadcast engineer was putting in the servers, our friends from Cisco asked him, they wanted to know where the rack of servers was, and they said, well, where is the Jesus? And I said, at the right hand of God.
All right, so we're going to open up for questions if that's fine with you.
That's great.
Does anybody from the audience have any questions for Mr. Zurek?
Me? Okay. How are today's youth so important to our society, Mr. Zurek?
Well, they're the foundation of our society. They're the ones that have to adapt to a changing world, just like the youth of my time had to adapt to a changing world. So without an educated youth force, without a motivated youth force, our country is doomed, and so is the world. Because as the United States goes so far, so goes the world. It's been that way throughout my lifetime, and I expect that to continue. So you folks are the foundation. What you do is important. The fact, you will have bad days, but if you continue to drive yourself forward, learn every day, make sure that you understand how important you are in the world, you'll do very, very well. So the youth of today is our foundation in everything we do. You folks learn more on a daily basis than people my age learned forever. You've got the opportunity to grab tools. Your use of electronics, your use of digital items is so far beyond what I am. You're digital natives. I'm an immigrant to the world of the internet, and I use it all the time, and I force myself to learn it, but to you it's so natural. If you and I, for example, were given an electronic device to use, you would open it. First thing I would do, let's go back to me. I would open it, I would put it on the table, I would lay the parts out, I would read the directions, and I would say, okay, this is how it works. I would try to figure it out. It would take me a couple of hours. You, on the other hand, would sit there and take and put it up and say, okay, this leads it, and you just start working with it, and you'd have it mastered much quicker than I would. And I would guarantee you that 90 to 95% of you in this room would be able to do exactly that. It's just innate. You have innate skills that the people of my generation and a couple of generations after me simply do not have. We're not used to taking and adapting ourselves to things like that without instructions. you're able to go into things and just naturally learn them. You have a hunger, and that hunger will pay off.
So speaking on the youth, Mr. Zurek, what advice do you have for any youth wanting to work for the Dallas Cowboys or for the NFL?
Okay. First and foremost, I would tell them, go into a different career. But nobody listens to that. No, sports is a great career. It's a very hard career to get into, so you've got to be among the best. When we put out an ad for a new social media manager, we got about 600 applications. So, and the person that got the job was very, very good at it. It starts much earlier than people think. I'll get people coming to me with their college degree and they want to work for the Dallas Cowboys. And I'll look at their resume, and their resume might have a little bit of volunteer work, and it might have a great degree, and it might have that they were a cheerleader, a basketball player, football player, but it doesn't have any work. So I've always been of the philosophy that it starts early. It starts first of all in school. And that means that even if you don't like a subject, and God knows there are subjects that I didn't like. There were things I was very good at, things I loved, but there were subjects I didn't like. And so I still had to be okay with those. You have to be great at every subject. If you want to be a writer, you were saying you want to be a writer. If you want to be a writer, you've got to understand geography, because you might have to write about something in the world. They all matter. Then that's number one, and that goes on forever. Number two, you've got to learn for the rest of your life. Every day you've got to wake up and say, I have to learn something today. Because what you learned 10 years ago will be totally out of date. Then the third thing is you have to work. And I don't mean you have to go out and work full-time today and give up your studies. But by the time you're a junior in high school, you should have a job. And you should learn to get up in the morning if you have to get up in the morning. It doesn't matter if you couldn't sleep the night before, if you ate too much candy and you have a sugar headache in the morning. Doesn't matter, because people depend upon you to be there, and you've got to learn that at an early age. And with my kids, what I made them do, they had to work in their junior year, they had to work in their senior year. Otherwise, they didn't get any spending money. That was their money. Then I didn't let them work as freshmen, because freshmen in college is a very different time. And it's about learning how to go to school. It's really learning what the education is like. It's very different. When you two were talking up there, your partner talked about the difference between college and professional football. Well, the difference between high school and college education is about the same kind of a jump. In high school, every teacher loves you, every teacher cares about you. Professors aren't all like that. If you fail a course, they're fine with it. They know some other kid's going to come in behind you. Where your teachers today in elementary school and high school really care about you. So in freshman year, you learn to go to school. In sophomore year, you get a job and pick up expenses. And this is if you're financially able. And then as a junior, by the time you're a junior, you should have an internship or a job in your chosen field. And you should also have a job in your senior year in your chosen field, so that when you get out of school, you've got experience. People don't have to teach you all the rudimentary things. All they've got to do is help you grow into your skill. Now, I will back up for a second. I said freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. I also believe that it's okay if you take 5 years to go to college. And your parents and those people who are helping you get your way through college might not like that, but college is an experience. College, you may get into college at the age of 17 or 18 years of age and not know what you want to be when you're 45 years of age. So you may want to change your major at some point. That's okay. Don't change it 5 or 6 times, by the way. Just once is good. But you also may want to be that educational experience. There may be a course or 2 courses that you want to take just because you want to learn. It doesn't have anything to do with your degree, and it's not part of your degree path. But you want to learn something. I think it's okay to take that course and learn, because that's what puts you on the path to be a lifelong learner. So once you've done all of that, then if you're in sports and you want to come to the Dallas Cowboys, then you go to Waco, Texas, or you go to a Tyler, Texas, or you go to an Ardmore, Oklahoma, and you work for whatever minor league team you can find there, or you look at every team in sports. You don't look at the Dallas Cowboys only. Yes, absolutely apply there, get to know people there, but you don't look just at them. You look at anything in sports. And the great news about working at a minor league team, for example, if you work at minor league baseball in Tyler, Texas, you will do everything. You will sell, you will sweep, you will help run the promotions, you will do all of the things that are necessary to help that team run. So when you come to the Dallas Cowboys to specialize, and people in our company specialize. If you're a social media manager, you're a social media manager. If you are a writer, you write. Now, our writers also do podcasts, our social media writers do podcasts, but you have to gear yourself toward that specialty. Before you do that, you want to be a generalist so that you can draw upon those other skills and make you better at what you're special at.
Thank you. You have any more questions?
Why don't you ask a question?
How can a young person be prepared if they desire to work for the Cowboys?
Well, you have to do all of the things I told you. You also have to know sports. Everybody at the Dallas Cowboys, I don't care what your job is expected to be an expert. People ask me, the first thing people ask me when I went to church on Saturday was, what do you think of the draft so far? And I had to tell them my thoughts on what the Cowboys did, my thoughts on what the Cleveland Browns did, my thoughts on what the 49ers did, my thoughts on what the evil Redskins and Eagles did. And so I have to know that. And that's easy for me because I'm a fan. And I've been a fan of sports forever. I love baseball, basketball, football, hockey, soccer, boxing. Not everybody is. So I will go back and talk about a woman I know by the name of Cheryl Dozier. Cheryl's a good friend to this day. She worked for me for a while. And Cheryl was selling KVIL, a great radio station in Dallas, Texas, and she wanted to sell sports. And in order to sell sports, what she did was every day she would go to, at the time we still got newspapers, and she would get the sports sections from both newspapers, the Dallas paper and the Fort Worth paper, and she would read about the sports reports. And she would ask questions, and she would read magazines. And so today, you can talk to Cheryl Dozier about sports the same way I can talk to you about sports, because she knew about it. She knew about football, and she knew about sports. And she made herself good at something she wasn't good at in the beginning. So that's something you really have to do. And you'll have to, whether it's sports that you go into or whether it's being a doctor, you're going to have to, at some point in your life, be good at something that you don't want to be good at. You asked about getting ready for school. When you go to college, when I hired people, I would look for a college degree. I didn't look for a college degree because I thought that this person was smarter than anybody else. I always looked for a college degree because I knew that this was somebody who could set a goal. This is what I want to do. I want to graduate college. And on the way to that goal, they could do things that they didn't want to do. I had to pass a science course. Boy, I'm not good at science, and I didn't want to have to pass a science course, but I had to pass a science course to get out. Not only did I pass a science course, I got an A. But I also had a roommate who was on his way to be a geologist, so he would help me with my homework. Does that answer your question? Wait, she's got a question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Craig. I heard that you have 3 children, 3 kids, but can you tell us how do you express your love towards your children and your family?
Well, now that's a great question. First of all, we would spend time together. I was their soccer coach. I was their basketball coach, assistant basketball coach. I would spend time with them. They were an Indian princess, and I was their chief. And I made sure I spent time. I had a job where I had to travel a bit. And before I got married, before I had children, I liked to golf. Well, I stopped, so I could spend time with my family rather than come home from a 2-day trip and then say, well, I'm going out on the links tomorrow. I'd make sure that I took part in their schoolwork. I'd make sure that we sat down and talked. I'd get down on the ground with them. Every night my children went to bed with a story, a song, or music, and a prayer. Okay, and they did that every night of their lives. One of the saddest days of my life was when they were all grown by this time. They were all in college, and they were all home, and my daughter came up to me with a box. And in that box were a bunch of cassettes and CDs of music that I played when they were young, when they were little. And I looked at it, and she said, "Dad, we really don't need these." And she was cleaning out her room. And I took them and I sat on the floor in the family room, and I started playing them one after another. And after about 2 hours, my eldest daughter came up and said, "Okay, Dad, we're done. What are we going to do with these?" But it's doing things with them. It's doing things with them from the time they're little until the time they're older. They're grown now. I love just being around them. They're fun. They're nice people.
What do you want your legacy to be?
I would like my legacy to be that he was interesting, he was giving, he was loving, he was a hard worker, and he got things done. He came in with whatever had to be done and did it, and he was also very innovative. So I try to innovate as much as I can. Find things that nobody else wants to do. That's why I'm in the job I'm in. Does that answer your question? Is that a good enough legacy? Yes.
If you had a chance to do anything over, what would it be?
Wow, there's a lot of things I would do over. I was married once before. I was married for 15 months. And it was the most cowardly thing I ever did. Because as I was standing on the altar, waiting for this young woman to walk down, I knew it was the wrong thing to do. And what I should have done is say to everybody, "I'm very sorry, this is a mistake." But we were never happy. So that's a do-over I'd like. Wasn't fair to me, wasn't fair to her. Wasn't fair to our families. So that's one regret I have, but I learned from it. I regret not being more attentive to college when I was out of high school at 18 and 19. But had I been, I probably wouldn't have gone in the Coast Guard. So some of those bads turned out to be good. When I got married to Juliana 35 years ago, I knew exactly what I needed to do as a husband and a dad. Yes?
What motivates you the most?
What motivates me? My life, I really enjoy my life. I enjoy my family. I enjoy being proud of them and them being proud of me. So that motivates me. I do some things just for fun, some things just to be around my kids. My youngest daughter and I probably had we just didn't click as well as the other two and I did for a while. And she moved back here, moved back to Dallas. She was living in Austin, moved back to Dallas, and wanted to work near home and save money. Her goal is to go, she moved to Colorado, she wants to go to the university up there and get her master's and doctorate and teach college. So she worked near me. We would drive to work and we would talk about things, and she would say, "Dad, you've got a lot of great stories, start writing them down." And so I did. I wrote down one, took me about 5 months, called Almost Santa, about the first time I played Santa for our city, and it's pretty funny. But then at the same time, she said, "We need to write together." She's a writer. She's a rhetoric major from the University of Texas. She's a writer for her job. But she said, "I don't get to write enough for fun, and I'd love to write with you." So we talked about it a little bit, and one day we were riding to work, and I said, "I don't know why. Did anybody here ever get a song stuck in their head? Just not your favorite song, just a song that you hear somewhere." And we were driving to work, and I said, "For some reason, I have the hokey pokey stuck in my head." And she laughed like you laughed, and she said, "That's our first subject." And so I said, what do you mean? She said, well, I'll write a story about it, you'll write a story about it, that using that, and we'll come back and just share them with each other. Well, we just shared our 31st story. Been doing it for 2 years. So now we're going to put a website up. Her goal with this website is so that she can get other artists of all kinds, whether they are singers, whether they are sculptors, whether they are writers. Once they see what we do, to sit down and put their work on the website. Her problem is, what she sees as a problem is that people that are very creative get into a creative job. And when they're in that creative job, they focus on the job and they stop doing their art for art's sake. And so she wants them to do their art for art's sake and share it with the world. My goal is to teach parents that there are things you can do with your kids that can help you communicate with them, even when they get a little older and you lose touch a little bit. And I tried it out with a friend of mine, and he and his son weren't getting along. His son was about 17, and they weren't getting along, and I told him about that. He said, I wish there was something I could do with my son. And we talked a little while longer, and he told me about a concert that he took his son to the year before. One of his bands, not his son's bands. And I said, why don't you and your son go to concerts? And he said, that's not a bad idea. So for the last year, once a month, they go to a concert. And 1 month it will be his favorite group, and the next month it'll be his son's favorite group. And they've been doing that for a year.
Do you go to every Cowboys game, or do you have like season passes?
Oh, I have season tickets, but my family and friends, church members love them because they get to sit in the seats because I'm always working at the games. So I've had season tickets with the Cowboys forever, and when I go to a game, I have to tape the game, I have to record the game, because I very, very seldom get to watch much of the game because I'm busy. And it's that way with all of the Cowboys employees. But when I look out my window, I get to see the Cowboys practice. I saw them practicing this morning. So I'm out there when it was just the players out there, when it was captains led. So I get to see all of that. I get to see them in the cafeteria when I go downstairs, dining hall. When I go downstairs, it's just fun to be around the team.
So earlier you stated that Jerry Jones Jr. called you.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. I was working for CBS Radio at the time, and for a few years before that, I had also run the Texas Rangers radio network and had given that up. And so when I got a call from the general manager, and he said that the Cowboys and CBS had pushed back from the table. And I said, okay, what does that mean? And he said, well, we're not going to carry the Cowboys anymore. And I said, okay, what does that mean? And he said, that means that your department is going to be dissolved. So we talked for a few minutes. He's a good man. He's a very good man. He's not a cold, heartless corporate being like some people are. And I said, what does that mean for the people who work for me? He said, essentially, as of Monday, they don't have a job. So I thought about it for a minute, and I said, if I find one of the sales managers from the other stations or the promotions director to pick these people up, can they go to work there? He said, it's got to be on their budget, and they've got to be the ones to hire them. So by the next day at 3 o'clock, I had all of them placed. I had 4 sellers and a promotions director, and they were all placed, and they were at radio stations. And then I went in and talked to Brian and said, okay, what about me? And he said, well, I've got a place for you. He said, I've got a couple of places I could put you. And I said, and what if I opt out? What if I decide to not work for CBS anymore? He said, well, then I'd have to let you go. So I went home and talked to my wife, and we had a long talk. We prayed, and said, I'm not happy here. It's time to move. So I went in and told him the next day that I was going to leave, and graciously got accepted by everybody and went on. And I was very fortunate. Over the next 4 weeks, I talked to a lot of friends, had a lot of interviews, knew from all of those interviews that I had 4 solid opportunities. I got 2 of them in writing, but along the way, a week before I was going to make my decision, I got a call from Mr. Jerry Jones Jr. And he said, Craig, we're bringing the Cowboys in-house, and we would like you to come in and run it. And I said, that's great. So I went and interviewed with him. Then a week later, I went, and that morning I had gotten a job offer from Premier Networks, and then another offer from ABC, and had gotten an offer the day before that from a TV production company. So I went in and saw Mr. Jones, and he said, we'd like you to come to work, here's the offer. And I said, well, Mr. Jones, I got these offers, and they're this much money, and it's a little more money. I said, money's not everything. You're where I want to be. I said, make no mistake, I want to work for the Cowboys, but I also have to take care of my family. And he said, we'll match that. So, showed great faith in him. Yes.
So you talked about experience, and when you look at resumes, you look for the experience.
Right.
What positions have you had in the past that prepared you for what you do now?
What prepared me for it was, first of all, school. But while I was in school, I also did on-air work. I did news work. I did a lot of production work. And we also had a sales club. And so I got into that. And so when I graduated, I was fortunate enough to have a few job offers right out of college. Now, none of them were in Chicago, by the way, where my mother would have loved me to work. But I wound up going out to Reno, Nevada, and worked in sales and sales management there. Did some theater for fun while I was there. And then from there, from Reno, went to San Antonio, Texas, also in radio. And then moved back to Chicago to a much larger company, went to the CBS Radio Networks, worked there, came back to Dallas to open an office for the CBS Radio Networks. At one point, with the CBS Radio Networks, I took a job with a local radio station, left CBS, made one of those great career mistakes that people make, left CBS, went to a small radio station. In 30 days, I realized that there was no moral value within this company. So I went home and told my wife I'm going to have to leave. And did, and took the entrepreneurial plunge, and over the next 15 months, I made about a week's pay. It's about all. I mean, we went through savings plans at 401 and sold things and did everything. Now, I made money from what I learned there. During that period of time, I learned to write business plans. During that period of time, I learned a lot about a lot of different industries. I learned a lot about different countries. I went to Latin America, wound up doing business in Latin America that became profitable later. So when something comes along like a challenge like the digital signage network, I know I'm able to handle it. I know I can't do it today, but by writing business plans for things like jet fuel system repair, I can learn about an industry in about 30 days. That doesn't mean I'm an expert in the industry in 30 days. It means in 30 days I can hear what an expert says and understand that. So I can write about it and put together a solid business plan for it.
Can I ask one last question?
Yes, sir.
So I know you've been, throughout your career, you've been around many great businessmen and such. Can you tell me, if you have one, who is your mentor?
Probably my favorite mentor of all time was in Reno, Nevada, a fellow by the name of David Newman. David was good to his people, but smart. He was firm, fair, and consistent. Okay, those are three elements of a good manager. You've got to care, and he really did. And he had a good moral base. He cared about the company. He cared about his customers. He cared about the people who worked for him. And he taught me a lot, all the time. He taught me from the things I did right. He also taught me from the things I did wrong. And he's a friend to this day. Anybody else?
Okay. This is Zurek, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But I know you talk about your kids a lot, and they mean a lot to you.
Yes.
But I want to know 5 things that are important to you other than your kids, and why.
5 things that are important to me?
Yes, sir.
Well, there's their mama. Every night I go home to kiss the baby's mama. Okay, so she's really important to me. And so a lot of my motivation comes from that. There are friends. I've got friends that I care for a lot. And if they bleed, I bleed, and if they're happy, I'm happy. I've got my church. I care a lot about my church family, and all that that means to me. And I love my work. I always loved work. You know, people talk about retirement. I'm pretty close to that age, and I just don't, that's just not going to happen. That scares me to death. I can't imagine getting up in the morning and not having something of value to create. So those are some things that are important to me. And I love having fun. I love the writing. I love singing. I love all of those things. I love being silly sometimes. You can still be silly, by the way, when you get older. You don't have to stop.
Wait, I didn't say that was 4. You can give me one more.
I only give you 4?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what else do I have?
Count.
You count.
I like working out. I don't love it. I love food. I love food. All my kids are good cooks, and my wife's a good cook, which is not why I'm not a slender young boy. But one other thing that motivates me, that drives me, respect. I want to be respected, and I want to give respect to others. That's important.
Very important.
Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
What are your thoughts on social media?
Oh, it's a boon to communication, and it's the best thing that's happened, and it's not such a good thing sometimes. You know, like any good tool, it can be used for the wrong reasons. You know, it can be used for bullying. It can be used to spread lies. It can be used to spread maliciousness. But it also, I remember when the phone first started, when people started getting phones a lot, and they were all worried that kids wouldn't communicate anymore. They would stop talking to each other. And to me, I started learning that with SMS, they're sending letters to their friends all the time. You're having more communication than I used to with my friends, and you communicate with more people. So social media is very good. I think there has to be a modicum of privacy. For example, if I go out of town, I've got a daughter living in San Francisco, and if I happen to go visit her, and she's going to post about it, we wait until we leave. Because you have to have some amount of privacy and safety in it. So it's a great tool. It's a lot of fun. And my daughter, I've got my youngest, who is a writer, was a social media manager at one time, so I had to learn quite a bit about it. Our social media at the Dallas Cowboys is the best in the NFL, by far. And it's a great tool, but you've got to use it right. And you've got to use it so that it doesn't hurt you. Does that make sense?
I've got a question. It's probably like, you probably don't have a favorite, but who's your favorite person on the team?
My favorite person on the team? My favorite person on the team is probably Jason Witten, and it's close with Dak Prescott. I like Dak a lot.
Who's some of your favorite people that they're like just
That used to be with the team? Well, I love Jason.
Used
I love Jason Garrett. Okay, when I was at the radio station, we would do events. We would do appearances, player appearances, and we'd do them in restaurants or stores. And Jason was on the team at the time. That was when Troy was there. Right around the time they won their last Super Bowl. And I would have Jason once in a while at functions. And at one point in time, it was a little quiet. Jason and I were talking, and we started talking about different players that I had hired. And there were a couple of guys that we hired that didn't show up on time, or showed up in a bad mood and didn't treat the fans the way they deserved to be treated. And Jason said, anytime you've got a question about somebody, call me. I'll tell you the truth. And he did, and he helped me out a lot. And then when he left, Dak Wynn took that position, former linebacker, and right after when Dat had to leave, Dexter Copley took that position. So I've always had somebody on the team that I could go to that would honestly tell me about who was a good marketer on their team, who really understood what it was like. So I've always liked those guys. They've always been very special to me. They helped me so much. So I would do things for them anytime I could.
Quick. So you were talking about players, how they act and how they treat fans. Do you think Terrell Owens deserves all the slander he gets?
Terrell Owens, I think, was a showman who wasn't accepted as a showman, but he was also a pretty shy person. I worked out 2 nights in 1 week within this far of Terrell, and all he said was, "Hi, how you doing?" Told me one time to use a different form for a leg exercise I was doing, and that was about it. He didn't talk a lot. Troy Aikman, by the way, when he came in the league, was about the same way. I talked to Troy I said hi to Troy probably 10 times before he said a sentence back. And it wasn't because he was haughty, it was because he was shy. When we would do functions with Troy would gravitate to kids. At the time, he was very comfortable with kids. He didn't quite trust adults. He does now. He's learned to grow. We've become good friends, but players are people. And they're 21, 22 years old. They're not Zeke Elliott and ready for all of this excitement that comes to them. Some of them are worried about people, and you got to treat them like people and take time. So I don't think Terrell Owens was a bad guy. I think he got used.
So after this, what will be your next move?
After this?
After your career with the Dallas Cowboys.
After this, what I'd probably do, I get asked all the time to consult for companies. Because I work for the Cowboys, people think I'm a lot smarter than I am. So I get asked to consult for people. And if I do leave the Cowboys, it would probably be to consult and have some kind of consulting business where I'd be able to travel and take my bride with me. So I'm not going to consult in North Dakota, or if I do, I guarantee you she's staying here. She won't be coming. She doesn't want to be coming.
All right, so I think I'm going to go ahead and take the last question.
Good.
What advice would you give to our graduating seniors?
Look back on that time of your life with joy. Everybody tells you go out and be successful. Find happiness, okay? You've got to find happiness, and that means that you have to work hard to get happiness. You can't be happy unless you're successful. But you've also got to always remember to share with others. Nobody can be happy unless they share with others. Have a supreme being. I don't care what you call that person, but for me it's God and Jesus Christ, but it doesn't have to be for everybody. But you have to have a God that you pray to. You've got to have somebody above you that you can pray to, and you've got to have friends. And you got to do things you like.
All right, everybody give another round of applause to Zurek.
Even the rebels jumping in.
Great job, great job.
We appreciate you coming to our show. We appreciate you for taking your time out of your busy schedule to come chill with us. And just you giving us your insight, because I feel like everything that you said, we really needed to go home with that information today. So thank you for that.
Well, you're very, very welcome. You're very welcome. And thank Rachel, because she put up with there were a couple of times that I had said yes, and then other things got in the way, and I was just delighted to be able to make it here.
Thank you,
in spite
Rachel.
of the traffic on the road.
We're going to
take our time out to congratulate our winners of last week's competition. Can we get a quick drum roll real quick? And the winners are? I'm coming, sorry.
I thought we did wait.
Okay, so for everybody that wasn't here last week, we did a quick competition at the end of contest at the end of the class called the dictionary game. And the challenge was for them to come up with their own definition or the closest thing to what they think the word meant. Some of these words are pretty hard, some of them were funny. So the team that won got 3 out of the 5 words right. And those words were hummock, which means bridge of ice, chicken sleeping, which means sleeping standing up, or sit. If you're asleep like this, if y'all ever fell asleep at church and you do this, that's chicken sleeping. Everybody in this room know you have fell asleep at church. Or you sleep, and the other one that they got right was bucolic, which means grow up in the country or rural life. And the winners are Isaac, Jalen, and Aaron. You are going this Saturday, you will be going to the Chris Brown concert.
When you support virtual advertising media, you are supporting the only youth media team that hosts, produce, direct, and film their own production. Control the media, control the mind.